Good morning, students. Welcome you all in this learning session. My dear students, in this session today we will study the chapter The Happy Prince that is taken from your book Movements. First of all, we should have a look over the theme of the chapter. The story is an allegory. Dear students, allegory is a story, play, or picture in which each character or event is a symbol representing an idea or a quality such as truth, evil, death, etc. It is based on the theme that love and sacrifice are important values in human life and happiness comes to those who make others happy. Those who have compassion and concern get as much joy as those who receive their kindness and charity. Hence, one must try to live a life guided by the virtues of love, sacrifice, benevolence, and joy. Now it's time to have a look over the summary of this chapter. Dear students, once in a town there lived a prince. He was called the Happy Prince because he had been happy all his life. After his death, his statue was erected on a tall pedestal in the middle of the town. The statue was covered with gold and had two precious sapphire stones embedded in the eyes. A ruby stone had been fitted into the handle of his sword. From there, he could see all around the place and realized that the people lived in a lot of poverty and misery. This sight saddened the prince, and being helpless, he would weep to see the plight of his people. One day, a swallow bird was flying through the city on its way to Egypt to meet its friends. On the way, it took shelter for the night at the feet of the statue of the happy prince. The bird realized that the statue was weeping and upon inquiry realized the plight of the prince. The helpless prince requested the bird to help it by becoming its messenger. After initial refusal, the bird agreed and took the ruby stone out of the sword hilt and delivered it to a poor seamstress. The next morning, as he went to bid goodbye, the statue convinced him to stay back for one more day. That day, the bird was asked to remove the sapphire stone from one of the statue's eyes and deliver it to a young playwright. Also, on the third day, the bird had to pull out the second sapphire stone for a poor match girl. By this time, the weather had become cold and the bird had developed an attachment with the statue. The bird did not want to leave the statue, which had now become blind. The happy prince asked the bird to go around the city and inform him the condition of the people living there. The bird told him that the rich were making merry while the poor lived in misery. As the happy prince did not have any more precious stones, he ordered the bird to remove the gold foils from his body and distribute among the living who needed money for survival. Gradually, the statue of the prince lost its covering of gold and became dull and grey. On the other hand, the poor became joyous as they got bread to eat. The swallow bird was now unable to withstand the cold weather and realized that death was approaching. It informed the statue that it had to leave, and the statue who loved the bird asked it to kiss him. As the bird died and fell at the statue's feet, a strange sound came out of the statue the sound of the breaking of its heart. Although the statue's heart was made of lead, it broke as it was overwhelmed with the affection towards the bird. When the statue was melted in the furnace, the heart did not melt and was thrown in the garbage. It landed near the swallow's body. God's angels took both the dead swallow and the broken heart to him as they were the most precious things on land. Now, my dear students, after the summary of this chapter, it will be beneficial for all of us to have a look over the main points of the story. The main points are: first, the happy prince is a statue of dead prince. He is decorated with gold leaves and precious stones. The happy prince is a statue of dead prince. He is decorated with gold leaves and precious stones. Second, he feels sad because he is unable to help the people who are crying in misery. Third, he decides to help with gold leaves and precious sapphires and ruby. Fourth, the swallow acts as his messenger. He distributes all his wealth among the needy people. Next, the swallow was going to Egypt, but the happy prince persuaded him to stay for a night to help the poor. The swallow was going to Egypt, but the happy prince persuaded him to stay for a night to help the poor. Next, his death broke the happy prince's heart. Next, the mayor and the town councillors pulled down the statue as it looked shabby. Next, they melted the statue but failed to melt the leaden heart. Next, one day God asked one of his angels to bring two most precious things from the earth. Next point, the angels brought the leaden heart of the happy prince and the dead swallow. Next point, God was pleased with the angel's selection. Next point, the prince and the swallow were given a permanent place in heaven. Next and last point, my dear students, then they lived happily in heaven. Now, my dear students, we have discussed over the summary and value points of the chapter. Now, here the meanings of some of the difficult words are given. You can take the help of these meanings to read and understand the content properly by yourself. After the glossary, class work is given. Dear students, you will not get extract based question from any of the movements book chapter. So I have given just short answer type questions and two long answer type questions. I request all of you, my dear students, to start answering these questions. Okay. Now, my dear students, I hope all of you would have understood the content properly and enjoyed the session. I will meet with all of you very, very soon with the next module. Till then, take care of you and thanks to all of you, my dear students. Thank you.